saw me standing alone, without a dream in my heart, without a love of my own. Blue.
Do you want to learn how to accompany yourself playing jazz tunes, but you don't know where to get started? Well, in today's quick tip, I'm going to teach you the best chords to use when you're accompanying yourself at the piano, and then I'm going to teach you 3 accompaniment techniques that I love to use whenever I'm accompanying a singer. Now, before we get started, I want to mention that in just 3 days, we're launching the biggest special that we offer all year long over at pianowithjonny.com, up to 50% off the Piano with Jonny membership, so stay tuned for that, and let's go ahead and dive in. All right, we're going to be using a chord progression from a classic jazz tune called Blue Moon. It goes like this. Blue moon, I saw you standing alone, without a dream in my heart, without a love of my own. Okay, it's actually a really simple chord progression. And so the first thing is we're going to review these chords, then I'm going to teach you a really cool way to play the chords, and then I'll teach you the 3 accompaniment techniques. Okay, chord progression is very simple. We're in the key of C major. First chord is a C major 7 chord. This is a chord you'll see a lot in jazz. Okay. Second chord is called an A7 chord. Really simple. It's like an A major with an added 7th. Then we're going to play a D minor 7 like this, all white notes, stacked in thirds, and then a G7 chord like this. Okay? Now this is called the turnaround progression, and it's used in tons of different tunes. I've got rhythm, heaven, I'm in heaven, someday when I'm awfully low, right? All of these tunes use the same chord progression called the turnaround progression. All right, in the next section, I'm going to show you how you can play these 7th chords in a way more interesting way. But before we do this, if you're enjoying this video, please hit the like button and subscribe for more videos just like this. All right, you ready to learn how to play these chords in a way jazzier way? I'm going to teach it to you 2 ways. So the first is if you're more of a beginner, and the second is if you have some playing experience. Okay, first way to play these chords, they're simple chords, but they sound amazing. Blue moon, I saw you standing alone. Okay, what am I doing in my right hand with these chords? Well, I'm basically taking my full chords, like a C major 7, and I'm playing what are called guide tones. Okay? And basically, if you take a chord, like a C major 7 chord, and you remove the 3rd note from the chord, or we call this the 5th of the chord, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if you remove that note, you end up with these 2 notes above the root, the E and the B, and they're called guide tones. They're the most important notes of the chord. And so what we're going to do with this accompaniment approach is we're going to put the root on the bottom, and then we're going to put the guide tones on the top. Okay? And this is a great way to get started with your piano accompaniment because you don't have to play a bunch of really big chords to get a really nice jazzy sound. So here's a quick review of our guide tones. So we have our C chord. There's our A7 chord. And if you're confused, why are these the guide tones? Well, if you just played an A7 chord, 1, 3, 7, there's the guide tones. And I'm simply inverting this chord, so I'm putting the C sharp on the top. Okay? D minor 7 is the next chord. Really simple. F and C. And then our final chord, G7, is going to be right there. Okay? And again, if you struggle to see your guide tones, just play the root position chord, and then get rid of the 5th, and there are the guide tones. Okay, so I'm just inverting the notes of the chord. And the reason I invert the notes is so that I can keep all of the chords somewhat close to one another. Okay, so this is the guide tone approach. I also call it the sparse approach because the chords are a little bit more sparse, not quite as full. Well, what if you want to play richer sounding chords? Blue moon, I saw you standing alone. Okay, what the heck am I playing here in the right hand? Well, these are called rootless voicing chords, and they're super jazzy chords that you can use whenever you have an ordinary 7th chord, okay? So I'm going to walk you through these 4 chords, and then I'll teach you the 3 accompaniment techniques. Okay, first chord, C major 7. What we're going to do for this chord is we're going to play this beautiful chord voicing on the top, E, G, B, and D. Okay, it's just a way more colorful way of playing a C major chord. Okay, second chord, super crunchy A7 chord. And what we're doing with this A7 is we're playing our guide tones, but we're adding a couple really cool altered notes that you can add on a dominant 7th chord. I'm adding an F and a C natural, okay? Now this chord is called an A7 flat 13 sharp 9, but don't worry about the names of these chords, they'll make sense over time. Next chord, beautiful D minor 7 chord. We're adding an E chord extension to this D minor 7 chord. And then our final chord, super jazzy G7 chord. Again, I have my guide tones here, but I'm adding an A and an E. We call these chord extensions. They're notes that you can add to your dominant 7 chords, okay? So one more quick review of our rootless voicings, and then we'll talk about the accompaniment techniques. This is our C chord, super jazzy A chord, nice D minor chord, and then our final chord is our G7 chord. All right, now that you've learned your chords, you are ready to learn how to accompany with these chords, and I'm so excited to teach you my top 3 accompaniment techniques. I use these techniques whenever I'm accompanying a jazz singer. The first technique I want to show you is actually a pretty simple technique. It's called 4 on the floor, and it sounds like this. Blue moon, I saw you standing alone, without a dream in my heart, without a love of my own. Okay? It's actually so simple because I'm basically putting a chord on every beat. So in other words, we start on our C, we grab this twice, 1, 2, and then the A chord, 3, 4. Okay? It's a super simple approach. D chord twice, G chord twice. Okay? Now you can use the simpler chords if you want. You can use those guide tones. Blue moon, I saw you standing alone. Okay, they're a little bit simpler sounding chords, but it still sounds really nice because you're getting the most important notes of your chord. All right, let's go ahead and play this accompaniment with the included backing track. Here it is. Here we go. Doesn't that sound amazing? All right, and by the way, this lesson comes with 3 backing tracks at different tempos that you can download and practice. You can also download the lesson sheet music you're seeing up here on the top left of this screen, and you can change the key of this entire lesson with the click of one button with our smart sheet music. So I'll put a link to all of that below. All right, it's time to learn the second accompaniment technique, and this technique is called the 2-feel, and it sounds like this. Blue moon, I saw you standing alone, without a dream in my heart, without a love of my own. What I love about this particular technique is that it grooves a little bit more than the 4 on the floor technique that you learned earlier. Remember on the 4 on the floor, you were playing a chord on every beat, okay? Well, this is a little more interesting. Isn't that cool? So I want to start with the left hand here and talk about this groove. It's actually a really simple groove. So what I'm doing on each chord, we're going to start on that C major 7 chord, is I'm going to grab the root on the bottom and I'm going to play this little pattern. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, it's super simple. Basically, whenever I'm on a chord like a C chord, I play the root note twice. 1 and 2 and then I go to the A chord, 3 and 4 and then the D chord, 1 and 2 and then the G chord, 3 and 4 and. Okay, now make sure you're playing this rhythm, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, now in the right hand, you're going to want to play a very specific rhythm. It goes like this: 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Basically, I'm popping the first chord on the and of beat 1. So 1 and 2 and then 3 and 4 and. Does that make sense? And then we do the same thing on the D chord, 1 and 2 and then the G chord, 3 and 4 and. So So you're always playing the chord on the ands. Now, something very important is that whenever you're playing a measure of music, the first chord is short, 1 and 2 and. The second chord is long, 3 and 4 and. Does that make sense? So same thing for the D chord, 1 and 2 and. It's short, and then 3 and 4 and. It's going to be long. All right, let's play this one with the included backing track, and for this one, we're going to play it with the slower backing track at 70 BPM. Here we go. 2, here we go. All right, before I teach you the final technique, if you're enjoying this lesson and you want to do a deep dive on jazz swing accompaniment, check out our jazz swing accompaniment course. In this course, we start with a lead sheet and then I teach you a whole bunch of ways that you can accompany yourself. We talk about chords, we talk about grooves, and we talk about how to get the right feel in your accompaniment. So I'll put a link to that course below. All right, the final accompaniment is the walking bass accompaniment, and this is the accompaniment that I use if I'm playing a professional jazz gig with a singer, and it sounds like this. Blue moon, I saw you standing alone, without a dream in my heart, without a love of my own. Doesn't that sound amazing? And it's actually not as hard as it looks. So let's start with the left hand walking bass, and it's actually incredibly simple what I'm doing. Basically, I'm starting on a low C, and I'm targeting all of my bass notes. So C major is my first chord, A major is my second chord, D is my third chord, and G is my fourth chord, but I'm basically throwing in some filler notes before those notes. And here's the basic idea. If I'm going from a C to an A, I can throw in the upper neighbor to A, which is B flat. So in other words, before I get to the A, I can put the B flat in there and then get to my A. Okay? And so you can do this on all of your chord tones. If I want to go to my D chord next, I use an upper neighbor, E flat, going to D, and then to my G, I use an upper neighbor, that's A flat, going to my G, and then now I need to get back down to C, so I'm going to use an upper neighbor to C, that's D flat, and back to C. Okay, so this is kind of the first place to start, is practice playing these upper neighbors, getting to your target tones. Okay? Now, once you've done this and you're feeling pretty good, you're going to want to add a swing note in here. Basically, all I'm doing here is I'm repeating the note that I started on. So if I'm going C to A, I go C, B flat, C, A, and now I need to get to D, so I go E flat, A, D, and now I need to get to G, so I go A flat, D, G, and now I need to get to my D flat, so I go D flat, G, C. Does that make sense? So here's the full rhythm of this left-hand bass line. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Now in the right hand, you're going to want to play this very specific rhythm. Check it out. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 4 and okay. What I'm basically doing is I'm grabbing the notes on a lot of the off beats. So 1 and 2 and then my A chord 3 and 4 and. You see that? So here's the full measure. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then the next measure I go 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Okay? So you're grabbing a chord on beat 1, 1 and 2 and 3, 4. Does that make sense? The hard part is actually putting the hands together with the walking bass line. Here is the exact rhythm with both hands. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. And once you're feeling good, let's play this at full tempo. A 1, 2, 3, 4, a 1. Hey, thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this lesson, be sure to check out pianowithjonny.com. We have over 1,000 step-by-step lessons for all playing levels where you'll learn your favorite songs, styles, and how to improvise at the piano. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.